Hey there, this is Kelly, and this is your bonus video training that is created to accompany the contract bundle. And in order to make this training a little bit more digestible, I'm actually going to do it in a two-part process. This first part, we're going to focus on more simple client contracts and the necessities. And then the second training that's going to accompany this are the more in-depth membership clients, policies and procedures, and organizational service agreements, because those are a little more robust, and I wanted to be able to segment them out so that you can follow along easily. So in your contract bundle, first, I will say that these were contracts that I had created and that I had reviewed by a lawyer several years ago in the state of Pennsylvania. Also, I need to tell you that these contracts are being shared with you for informational purposes only. This is something to help give you a starting point, or at least the groundwork on how to create contracts for our industry. But with any contracts that you present to any of your clients, it is your responsibility to have them reviewed by a lawyer yourself for your own business entity, and make sure that they are relevant and not null and void based on the location, city, state, or country that you live in, because we are often all overseen by different rules and regulations. So I do need to make sure that you are clear with that. So what I'm providing is for informational purposes only, and then you get to use them, craft what fits your particular business model, and then it is your job to do your due diligence and then go have a lawyer review them for your own business entity. Okay, so let's dive in. So the first thing we're going to talk about real quickly is about that initial first client. And if you have purchased the starter kit and then you've done the onboarding kit, so I've made available for many people a starter kit, and then I've also made available for people the onboarding kit and what it looks like when you go into a client's home for the very first time, right? So right now we're just going to tackle the first three contracts and documents per se that we use across the board. So some of the situations, you're going to have a client who calls you on the phone and just needs something done very quickly. In the past, I have said yes to things like that, and in the past, then I had people say that they weren't going to pay me for something. I had somebody years ago hire us to drive like 90 minutes away to pick up this diorama that they bought on some eBay auction, and then needed to have shipped to California. And I needed to go pick it up and then take it and have it shipped to California. But because of the nature of this diorama, it was very fragile. And in order to get it from Pennsylvania, where the person had bought it from, to California, it had to be wrapped and packaged and supported in a way that it would not be damaged in transit. And what ultimately happened was the shipping fees were quite high for this, because it needed to be wrapped and bubbled and all these different things, again, to make sure that it shipped properly and safely. And then it took a lot of time waiting for this to all be done, because it was very delicate and intricate. And ultimately what happened was this client refused to pay for the work that we had done. And because of that, I lost money on that opportunity. And I believe, if I remember correctly, they paid for the cost that it took for all of the shipping, but they only paid me for like half an hour of my time or 1 hour of my time, which really, really sucked. Okay, so that's why even with the smallest job, we will often, very often, make sure that we get even the simplest agreement signed from someone, because you don't want to get burned. Now, luckily, I've not been burned very often in the business, and considering I've been in business for years now, but there are still always opportunities that people will try to win over on you and get over on you, or they want to resist, or tell you that it's not what they expected, and so forth and so on. So you always want to make sure that you have some type of agreement that has been signed, that they understand your cost, and you're also understanding and relaying the scope of the job that is being done. So that's what I'm going to share right now, is a very simple kind of like in and out, onesie twosie type of client agreement, okay? So the first thing you have is your new client form. This we went into in much more detail in some of the other trainings, but basically it's a new client form. You want to gather all of this information so that you have it. If it's just something out of the blue, you don't necessarily need all this information filled out, but you still want to make sure you have their name, their phone number, an email address, perhaps a home address. This way, the reason why you want to have that information is because when you begin to market later on, then you'll always have a way to get back in touch with these people. It's not always relevant, because you will have times where people from another state, like this one, I had another one from someone who called me from Washington State and found a lamp that was only available in a furniture store that was here locally. So same thing, we had to go, we purchased it, we took it, we had it shipped and wrapped and shipped out to her to Washington State, and things like that. I'm not necessarily going to have a long-term client relationship with her. So the information wasn't as necessary, but whenever possible, you want to make sure that you're getting your client intake form filled out. I will also tell you that the in case of emergency actually does come up. It is important, especially if you're working with seniors, because there are times where you might show up at a house, nobody will be there, you can't get in. This has definitely happened to us, and there's no answer at the door, and then you'll want to come home, check your office files, and then reach out to that emergency contact to make sure that that client is okay, safe, whether they're in the hospital or not. And having that in case of emergency information really can come in handy. So the first form that you typically fill out is your new client intake form. The next form that you will have access to is what I call a simple contract. It's a very simple contract because it's a simple contract. You're doing one or two things, or perhaps you're helping for a party, or perhaps you're just picking up and delivering something, or perhaps you were just selling a promotion, or you did a 3-hour promo or a 2-hour promo. And that's how we use these simple contracts. So then it's just basically a contract between you, the company, on the date with the client, and they agree to what services. So for example, somebody calls you and asks you to go, we've had people call and ask us to go to the bakery and pick up these items and then deliver them to a certain office, right? So in here we would just say, go to established bakery, pick up items as ordered, hand deliver them to blah, 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 right? Really simple, right to the chase. If it's a simple 3-hour promo contract, then it's like 1 3-hour promo. All hours must be used at one bulk. We go into pricing and how to package and price your services in much, much more detail in some of our larger programs, as well as the pricing training class. And if you've done that pricing training class, then you know that some of the smaller packages that you sell, you can easily use this simple contract form. So it's, again, very easy. You're just plugging in the bullets of what it is that you're doing for the client. What I want you to pay attention to here is that the rates that you charge them are based on whatever your minimum is. So for some people, they've established a 1-hour minimum. For some people, we've established a 2-hour minimum. If it's just a one-off type of job, we have established a 2-hour minimum, and that is written on this document. So if the picking up and delivering of the groceries or the bakery items were to take 1 hour and 45 minutes, they're still being charged 2 hours because it's a 2-hour minimum. Okay? And that is why you want to make sure that they're signing that so that they understand no matter what, it's going to be a 2-hour minimum. So if your rate is $25 an hour, just as an example, then your minimum for this service is going to be $50. That's why we do it, so that it's completely and clearly made known to the client, and that there's no way they can come back and say, I wasn't aware of that. And then of course, if you have mileage or timing increments, that is all in here as well. And then you would want to, of course, just adjust this contract to fit whatever works for you, okay? Now we have a spot on here about payment being due on the 1st of the month on any hours that are work above the contracted hours. We actually don't use that in our contract anymore because we have a larger contract, which is our membership contract. I left it in there in case it was something that you wanted to use, but of course you get to just pull that out. We do not use that anymore. We used to use that until we created the more substantial membership client agreement, which I will go over with you in the next training video. The next thing that we always use is a credit card authorization form, and it's pretty self-explanatory when you print it out. The client, or the client that you're contracting with, will choose whether they are giving you authorization for either A, a one-time charge, B, ongoing charges, or C, for purchases only. Our clients typically don't use C because all of our clients are on a credit card membership. So all of our clients, we have credit card authorization forms for all of our clients. And it's great because this way you're getting paid for sure. You can be paid up front. If you sell a package, you can be paid for that package up front. That's the beauty of billing that way. And in addition to, of course, having the authorization form, it's also great when you have clients that are on this reoccurring revenue model, this membership model that I highly encourage everyone to transition to once you have the confidence to do so. And then this way, they sign the credit card authorization form one time, and then if they're on a membership that bills the 1st of the month, every month, you already have the credit card off on file, and you always need to keep this on file. Those are pretty much the main, like, bare minimum things that we fill out for all of our clients. Now I'm going to share with you a few of the additional documents and forms that I've shared with you in this contract bundle so that you can have them on hand in the event that it is relevant for you with that particular client. One of the forms that I have provided for you is the key release form. And the key release form is basically they are signing that they are giving you a house key, okay? And then they can either sign to give you a house key and you are responsible for returning it to them 3 days when they return home. That would be if you're doing a house sitting gig, right? Or a pet sitting gig of some kind. And then the other one is that you're going to allow them to keep it for future use. Also, we have a place here of who may be authorized to get the key if they ask you to give the key to someone else. So for example, if the husband signs it and they say their 20-year-old son can get the key back, that's how that works. Or if you're dropping a key off at someone's place of employment and their secretary is there and they want to assign the secretary to be able to get the key back. So basically this form just allows you have them sign when you pick the key up from them, and then you have them sign when you give the key back. I will tell you there was definitely a point in time in my life and in this business that I had keys to 10, 20 people at a time. I just want to make a comment about that since I'm providing this to you. If you find yourself where you are collecting many, many, many keys, never put the client's name or address on the key ring. The way I handled that is I went out, and you can buy these colored key cards. And I bought them a multi-pack. I think there might have been like 20 in a pack, and each one was a different color. And you just attach that colored tag to the client key. And then on there, you identify the client as simply as like client 101, client 102. And then somewhere else, not where the keys are, you create just a simple list that says client 101 is Kelly Schaefer. Client 102 is John Smith. Client 103 is Jesse Jones, you know, and then this way it is separate so that if you were to ever drop or lose the key, you can't be held liable for that, and no one would ever be able to use that key to get into someone's property. Okay, so that's how you use your key release form in the event that you are going to be entering a client's home without them being there. And we have a lot of clients that we enter their homes when they're not there. And some of them will give us a key, and then others, we use our garage door and security code waiver form. So basically here, it's the same thing. You can only have the garage door opener or the garage code for a limited number of days, or they allow you to have it so that you always have access to their home so that you can get in and out. So if it's an ongoing client who does not want to give you the key, but they're not always there, they can give you either a garage door opener or access to the garage code. And that is what this document is for. A bonus information for you when it comes to garage codes. When we meet with clients who want to provide us a garage code, we often remind them that with a lot of security companies and security codes, they can assign a specific garage code just for you. So I'm just making it up, but they give you garage code 5511, right? So their normal garage code is, just making it up, 1234, but for you, they create a garage code that's 5511. This way they can actually track when you enter and leave their home. And when you offer that information to clients, it just makes them feel more secure and safe and relying on and confident in you as a professional doing what it is that you do. Because for one, you even have that information too, you're offering that to them. And then it's their job, they would have to contact their security code company. Also, if you do have a garage door, not a garage door, but a security code to get in with their alarm, you always want to make sure that you also know the alarm emergency code or the alarm emergency code word if you were to accidentally set the alarm off. We have definitely accidentally set the alarm code or the alarm off in the past. And luckily we've either known what the security password was, or at one point we were literally there and asked them to shut it down and call the client while we stood outside the house. So you will find yourself in these situations on occasion, and so I'm just bringing them to light for you that if it happens to you, you're not the only one. This is just kind of normal. It's everyday life. One of the other forms that I provided to you is our house and pet sitting information form, and again, this is pretty self-explanatory, but it's just another really nice document to have that helps remind you of the questions to ask when you are meeting with a client and you are preparing to provide services for them, especially if they're a new client or it's kind of like a one-off type of situation. They're just hiring you for house sitting. So this is a great form to go to sit down with them and make sure that you help collect all the necessary information. On here also, you see that we have alarm company, alarm code number. In addition, if this is house sitting and that's what you're doing, in addition to this form, you would still want to use the waiver saying that they're giving you permission to use that alarm code. This way, if something were to happen, you are protected. And the other form that I put in here for you as well is a simple service request form for pet sitting. We really don't do much pet sitting at all. We pretty much only do pet sitting for clients who are regular service clients of ours. And then we have like 2 or 3 people that we've been watching their pets for years when they go away. And we have this on file for them. Just please remember that if you have general liability coverage, you are not covered for pet services. Just reminding you of that. And if you have any other things that you're not sure of, make sure that you have had access to the starter kit, because with the starter kit, I give you a lot of training around the proper insurance that you need to have for your company. So that's just letting you know that if you have just standard liability, you're actually not protected for pet sitting services. One of the other forms that I gave you access to is a confidentiality agreement. Now, for many of our ongoing clients, and we'll get to that in the next training, we have a confidentiality clause in the larger contract. But some clients, sometimes if they have you in their important files, or you're working at a doctor's office and there are some things that you might see, you're not allowed to actually see patient names or see patient files because it's a HIPAA violation. But if you are moving things and they're, you know, in a box, then you're okay. If you have a client who you have access to a lot of their personal information and data, this is just a nice extra additional form of protection that makes them feel safe being in your loving hands. We don't sign this for all of our clients, but it's available for all of our clients who wish us to sign it. And some of our more high-level executives or business owners do ask that we sign a confidentiality agreement, and we absolutely do that. And it will protect against it's basically saying that you will keep all of their information confidential. And also, if you have a team, that your team is also required to keep the information confidential. So when you're hiring team, and I offer this in our high-level trainings when it's about expanding your business and hiring a team, the paperwork and documents that are necessary for hiring a team, and confidentiality is something that's very important when you're doing that. All right, so in addition to the documents, you also now have a little bit of a snippet of understanding how and when and what's relevant to use all of these different documents. In the beginning, what you will end up doing is you will end up bringing them with you to your initial consultation with the client. At some point, in order to be prepared in advance, you will end up emailing these forms to your client in advance and asking them to print them and sign them for you, so that when you arrive, that's less time that it takes out of your initial consultation. And this is just general business knowledge that I've gained over being in business all these years. It's just a progression, right? In the beginning, you print everything, you take everything, you sit down with them, and you're spending your time going over it and helping them fill it out. Then you'll end up evolving your business, and what you'll do is you'll have the conversations over the phone. You will talk about, for example, what your minimum hours is and what the hourly rate is and what the scope of the job is, and whether you have a 2-hour minimum or a 1-hour minimum. And you'll talk those things out over the phone with them first, and then you can follow up by emailing them the documents and asking them to please print them and sign them when you meet up with them. So again, this is a progression, right? In the beginning, you're going to do all the work. Then as you get more clients, you're going to want them to help prepare the documents and have them ready for you. And then eventually what will happen as you continue to grow is you will use a third-party online document signing software, so that you can send them the link and they can read it online, and they can sign it online, and they can print and download their own copy, and you have an uploaded copy that you have on your online document server. Now, we also still will print out a hard copy, and we keep them in individual client folders if they are ongoing clients, because this way we always have access to it in the file. But you don't have to do that. It's what works best for you in your business. All right, my friend, hopefully this training helps supported you with how to use part of your contract bundle. And in the next training, we're going to go into more detail about your business policies.